A hospital at night has a particular sound you never get used to no matter how long you work there. Not the machines. Not the footsteps in the hallway. It's the combination of all those things together with the silence pressing down from above. A heavy, breathing silence as though the building is asleep but not truly sleeping. My name is Dr. Lucas. I was 35 years old, a fourth-year resident, and that night was my last shift in Ward C, the intensive care unit. Ward C had 12 rooms. That night there were 9 patients. And at 1:30 in the morning, the monitoring screen at the nurse's station flagged an anomaly in room 7. I was the closest. I went in. The patient in room 7 was a man named Gerald. 68 years old, admitted for heart failure, stable for 3 days. His chart was clean, nothing concerning beyond his age and a heart that had grown tired. When I entered, he was awake, sitting upright in bed, looking toward the window. "Mr. Gerald," I said quietly, "can't sleep?" He turned and looked at me. His eyes were sharp and clear, not the eyes of someone just woken, not the eyes of someone in delirium. He studied me for a moment, then spoke in a voice that was low and unnervingly calm. "Doctor, there's someone standing in the corner of the room." I looked toward the corner he indicated. The darkest part of the room, furthest from the light. "Empty. There's no one there," I said. "It's just the two of us." Gerald looked at me, then at the corner, then at me again. "You don't see it?" he asked. There was no fear in the question, only what seemed like genuine curiosity. I checked his readings. Heart rate slightly elevated but not alarming. Blood pressure stable. He was fully alert, no signs of delirium or reduced oxygen to the brain. I made a note in his chart, adjusted his mild sedative dosage so he could sleep, and left. At 2:15 in the morning, the monitor flagged again. Room 7. I went in. Gerald was still awake, still sitting upright, still looking at that corner. "It's still there," he said before I could speak. "Mr. Gerald?" "It's wearing white," he said, cutting me off, his voice as calm as if he were describing the weather outside. "No face. Just standing. And it's holding something, looks like a list." I looked at the corner again. Still empty. Only shadow and an unoccupied plastic chair. "Have you slept at all?" I asked. "No," he looked at me. "How old are you, doctor?" The unexpected question made me pause. 35. He nodded slowly. "Young," he said. Then, "Do you believe in things that can't be explained?" "I believe in science," I said as gently as I could. Gerald looked at me the way older people sometimes look at someone young who is trying to appear wise. "So did I," he said, "before I turned 68. I adjusted his medication, checked everything once more, and left. I wrote in his chart, "Visual hallucination, continue monitoring, no immediate concern." At 3 in the morning, the monitor showed nothing from room 7, but it flagged room 9. The patient in room 9 was a woman named Eleanor. 72 years old, admitted for severe pneumonia, recovering well. When I entered, she was sitting up in bed, eyes wide open, staring at the corner near the window. "Is anyone in the hallway, doctor?" she asked the moment I walked in, her voice barely above a whisper, as though afraid of being overheard. "No one, Mrs. Eleanor. The hallway is quiet." "But I heard something," she said. "Someone walking, stopping outside my door, then moving on." I stepped out and checked the hallway. Empty. The overhead lights glowed a steady amber the full length of the ward, all the way to the far end, and there was not a single figure anywhere. I went back in. No one there. Eleanor looked at me, then turned toward the window. "I dreamed about my husband tonight," she said, and her voice shifted, the anxiety draining away, replaced by a strange, soft calm. "He passed 10 years ago. He was standing at the foot of my bed and he told me it wasn't time yet. He said I needed to tell the doctor on night shift something." I stopped. "What did he want you to tell me?" Eleanor looked directly into my eyes. "He said, the man in room 7 is not hallucinating. The air in the room felt colder by a degree. Or perhaps I imagined it. I wasn't certain. I thanked her, checked her readings, made notes in the chart with a steady hand. I made sure my hand was steady, and walked out. I stood in the hallway for a moment. Then I went to room 7. Gerald was asleep. Breathing even, heart rate normal, all readings stable. I stood in the doorway looking into the room, looking at the dark corner he had pointed to twice. I saw nothing. I returned to the nurse's station. 3:30 in the morning. 3.5 hours left in the shift. I sat down, opened a chart, and tried to focus on work. At 4:05 in the morning, every monitoring screen in Ward C went dark simultaneously. Not a power failure. The lights stayed on, the computers kept running. Only the 12 patient monitoring screens, black all at once for 1 second, then back on. When they came back, 11 screens displayed normal readings. The screen for room 7 showed a flat line. I ran in. The duty nurse ran in behind me. Gerald was lying in bed, eyes closed, arms at his sides. Peaceful. Like someone in a very deep sleep. We did everything that needed to be done. I knew the protocol, I had done it before, but there are moments when you know from the very first second that the outcome will not change. Gerald passed at 4:07 in the morning. Sudden cardiac arrest. The chart recorded it clearly. Nothing medically unusual, a foreseeable risk with an elderly patient in stage 3 heart failure. I finished the paperwork close to 5 in the morning, stepped into the hallway and leaned against the wall. The duty nurse, a woman named Diana, came and stood beside me. She had worked in Ward C for 7 years. "Is this your first patient lost during a night shift?" she asked. "Not the first," I said. "But this time," I stopped. "Did he say anything to you?" Diana asked, her voice quieter now. I told her everything. The corner of the room. The figure in white with no face. The list. Diana listened without speaking. "It's not the first time I've heard something like this," she said after a moment. "Hallucinations in critically ill patients." "Not hallucinations," Diana said, cutting me off, not sharply, just with the calm of someone stating something obvious. 7 years I've worked here. Patients who are close to the end, some of them see things. Not all of them, but some. I looked at her. "You believe that?" "I believe what I observe," Diana said. Then she looked straight down the hallway, that long, empty corridor glowing amber under the night lights. "Have you noticed, doctor? 7 years I've been here. Not once has a patient reported seeing something in the corner of their room and still been alive the next morning." That sentence hung in the air of the hallway. I started to say something, a scientific explanation, something about confirmation bias, about selective memory, but I didn't say it. Because in that moment I remembered something I had lost track of in the chaos of the past hour. Mrs. Eleanor. Room 9. I hadn't gone back to check on her since 3 in the morning. I walked quickly toward room 9. Diana followed. I pushed the door open. The room was empty. The bed was neat, sheets flat as though no one had lain in them. The monitor was off. The window was open a crack, and a breeze moved the white curtain in slow, soft waves. I turned and looked at Diana. "Mrs. Eleanor," I said. "Room 9. Where is she?" Diana looked at me with an expression of confusion. "Room 9? Room 9 has been empty since yesterday. The last patient was discharged yesterday afternoon at 4 o'clock. Didn't you receive the handover notes?" I stood very still. "I went into room 9 at 3 in the morning," I said slowly. "There was a patient named Eleanor. 72 years old. Pneumonia." Diana looked at me. Then she stepped into the room, opened the bedside cabinet, empty, pulled open the drawer, empty, and looked at the name card still clipped to the head of the bed from the previous occupant. The name on the card was Eleanor. "Discharged, yesterday, 16:00. "Doctor," Diana said quietly, "Mrs. Eleanor was discharged 12 hours before you walked into this room at 3 in the morning." I looked at the empty room. At the white curtain drifting in the breeze. At the bed with no one in it. Then I looked down at my hands. The medical chart I was holding. The one I had written notes in at 3 in the morning after leaving room 9. I turned to the page I had written. The page was blank. Not a single word. As though I had never set foot in room 9 that night. As though that conversation had never taken place. As though Mrs. Eleanor, the woman who had looked directly into my eyes and told me that Gerald was not hallucinating, had never been there at all. I stood in the middle of that empty hospital room, under the cold white light of early morning, And for the first time in 4 years of practicing medicine, I had no scientific explanation for what had just happened. And in the corner of room 9, the corner near the window, the spot Mrs. Eleanor had been staring at when I came in at 3 in the morning, I saw something I would never write into any medical chart. A footprint. Small. Like that of an elderly woman walking barefoot. Stopped exactly at that corner. And no footprints leading away.